all campers, what's the creepiest or disturbing thing you have seen or experienced on your camping trips? Unfiltered Confessions, voiced by William Bennett. We drank soju and sake before sleeping, and I didn't eat so much beforehand. Had a tent to myself and passed out facing upward. I woke up to the sound of a train passing by just as vomit started spewing from my mouth. I turned over immediately and passed right back out in a puddle of my own disgust. Next morning, everyone's main concern was that I almost died in my sleep if I hadn't turned over. My main concern was I was the only one that night to hear a train in a campground where the only train tracks have been unused for the past few decades. Never went camping again because of my fear associated with being in a tent after my self-induced near-death experience and my newfound fear of trains that only chug for me. So my life have been saved by a ghost train in the distance. We were camping with friends at a private campground, about 100 acres of woods surrounded by farmland. A few hours after sunset, we started hearing these pitiful screams echoing through the trees. They weren't human, but that didn't make it any less disturbing as they grew more panicked, louder and more insistent as the hours went by. The caretaker drove up to the ridge to check on us. He explained one of the local farms was weaning calves, and they did this by separating the babies from the herd and penning them in the pasture farthest from their house, which was next to the camp's property line. He came offering refunds of camp fees and earplugs. About half of us took him up on the earplugs. Those who didn't sat grimly at breakfast, describing how the screams became even louder and more bone-chilling as the hours dug on. One friend said, "A terrified toddler is a terrified toddler, even if it's on 4 legs and hooves. Nature didn't build that sound to be ignored." I go camping every few months, and a few years back I went to this area that's not very popular and stayed with my friend in separate tents for a week. This place was in a forest. The first 4 nights were normal, but after that small little things started happening. Like we'd wake up and things would be knocked over or moved. This continued for 2 nights, and on our last night someone started to unzip my tent. I heard my friend yell, "I've got a gun!" and started to come out of his tent. The guy ran off and we packed up and left. Nothing like creepers in the woods, because if they're creeping in the woods, there's no being what they plan to do to their victims. I've seen some sketch bulls on the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina, Virginia. Started carrying my pistol after the first week-long trip and wasn't carrying it for bears. I was camping with my church youth group for 1 year, and we were camping on one of the group's leader property that was right on the edge of a forest. Anyways, a group of us decided to mess with one of the older kids. He was 17 then, by jump scaring him with one of those serial killer hockey masks. I was very juvenile, I know. So one of us goes to see if he's in his tent. They woke up and yell, "Hey, are you in here?" And we hear a response of, "Go away!" in his voice. So the kid with the mask went up to his tent and tried to shake it, then pop out wearing the mask, but that's when we realized he wasn't there. We're confused, so we head back to the main group up at the fire. We find the kid who said he'd been at the fire for the past 2 hours. Mind you, there was no way for him to have gotten from his tent into the fire before us. The scariest part was that night I heard footsteps walking around my tent all night, along with the howls of a group of coyotes out in the woods. I still joke that we were visited by skinwalkers. I was maybe 13 and at a camp where we all would sleep in platform tents. There was one night where I woke up standing barefoot in the middle of the f***ing forest. I realized after a few minutes that I had just been sleepwalking after the panic of WTF just happened. I managed to see some lights off in the distance and get back to my tent, but who knows, it still could have been aliens. Took some city slicker friends car camping in the Sonoran desert. My SO and I had grown up camping and thought to talk them through all of the things they would need and the dangers they might encounter. Snakes and the chilly night temps were our biggest concerns. Time to find out our guests had bigger concerns. They were convinced that they were in mortal peril from mountain lions. Unlikely that deep into the desert or that coyotes would wander through the campground and rob them. So they brought a gun. And then every sound at night, they assumed their life was about to brutally end. They would get their gun and watch the inevitable danger to appear. That danger was the rest of their campmates monitoring the fire, watching the meteor shower, or getting up to use a bush. Come the morning, they regaled us of their successful guard duty. You know what's super dangerous? A half-asleep paranoid person wielding a loaded gun at every small shadow on a moonless night, ready to take out the lurking dangers. Us, in an area at least an hour away from some place that could treat a bullet wound. I was pissed.
I'm a year-round hammock camper. Was out one night with a buddy camping in the snow. It's late and I'm snuggled in tight. Suddenly I hear little feet beating super quick towards me, and much to my surprise, whatever it is shoots right under me. I'm using a minimal tarp, but I've got an integrated bug net which obscures my vision just enough. Strange and a little creepy, but I shrug it off and try to go back to sleep. The Sandman is almost upon me when the thing comes blazing back under me again, and then again and again. Thoroughly freaked out, I called out to my buddy to see if he was awake and heard the thing. Turns out he is lying there awake, equally creeped out. With both of us awake, we brave looking out. It was simply a fox with the zoomies going crazy in our campsite. We had a good laugh together afterwards.
My friend and I made the mistake of driving to the nearest town to watch the Blair Witch Project, only to return to our campsite scared out of our minds. 18 years old tough guy slept in the truck with all the windows covered. My friend snuck out at night and built the damn sticks from the movie and put them on the windshield, and then scared himself because he heard a noise. He woke up with his scream. He drove 100 miles home, freaked out, and left all of our camping gears there. That movie didn't scare me until I went camping, and at one point it went silent. Like even the crickets stopped chirping. Freaked me out. And it stormed. Tent leaked. I was pregnant. Ended up with a migraine. It was the worst camping trip ever. Well, at least I didn't get murdered by a witch. So there's that. The most frightened I have ever been in my life. My partner wakes me up in the dead of night inside our tent, whispering, "Don't move and don't make any noise." I listen for a minute and hear a loud rustling outside our tent. We lay there for a while, frozen, and the rustling continued. I start to shake from pure adrenaline. Finally, my partner grabs the axe and tells me to run for the car. I consider arguing, but bad time to argue. So finally, we lunge for the door. I frantically unzip it and make for the car like an Olympic runner. But then there's nothing outside. We can't find anything. Not a sight or a sound of an intruder. We're ranging cautiously around our side, looking for anything suspicious. Suddenly I hear the rustling again. I point my flashlight towards it, and it's a literal mouse. A literal mouse had been stomping around our tent for about a half an hour, scaring us shitless. One night I was camping alone. When I showed up to the campground, there were two cars parked in the parking lot. One was a family, and the other was a guy who looked like he was in his 30s. I didn't see him till after I set up my camp. The family left. As they were leaving, the family man looked at me and told me to be safe. He looked concerned. As the day turned and went dark, I noticed the guy who was still there was strange. He kept looking in and around his car, taking everything out and putting it back inside. He was on drugs and just weird looking. For a cigarette, he came to ask me for one. I gave him one. I should have left, but I was stupid back then. Plus it was late and I wasn't near my home. I guess I could have gone to rent a hotel. I wish I did. The night was thunder and lightning and wind. I was enjoying seeing the lightning storm from inside my tent. I finished up the last of my beer and was ready to lay down and get some rest. I think I was trying to not be worried about that stranger guy not too far away. My tent was by the bathroom, which had an outlet, so earlier in the day I had charged my phone just a bit. Anyway, as I lay down and got ready to doze off, I got a sickening feeling in my gut. It was windy outside, so the tent was moving a bit. Actually quite a lot. It was loud. My mind went to fear very quickly. I started to think about the guy out there and how I was there all alone at night. I got on my phone, which had a little bit of charge, and reached out to a few friends to comfort someone to talk to about where I was and how I was feeling. I don't think I'd ever been so scared in my life. I even cried. I was so scared. Just typing it, I'm getting the chills. My phone died inside I had no light except a little bit of moonlight, which made it able for me to see shadows outside of my tent. I knew I wasn't alone. I had my knife in my hand ready in case I needed to defend myself. I looked above me, and this, I don't know if it was just my mind playing tricks so real, but I think I saw or was seeing was a shadow above my head where I was laying, and it looked like a person. I thought I saw the shoulders and the head just standing there. I was scared that the guy was standing there right above looking over my tent. This lasted a while. I held onto my knife so tight and I didn't get to sleep. One of the longest nights of my life. I honestly don't think I'll ever go camping alone again. Next time I'll get a hotel room for the night. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more super interesting discussions. In the meantime, you can check out our other videos.